What is up, everyone? Welcome back to the False Six, and this time we are here with the Euros 2020-2021 group stage review. We did a video last time about the club season in the Premier League, which is a fantastic video, a lot of drama, but the drama is not less here as well. And I want to start with Mark. Group A. What's the scene? Just take us through.
So Group A has a lot of very good teams. They're going to be playing the first game. So exciting. I'll start with Turkey. Turkey have their coach who's Senol Gunesh, who's been there for a very long time. He's
Yeah.
the most decorated coach in Turkey. And he's got a very strong side to put out there. He's got players like Hakan Çalhanoğlu, who's had an amazing season. You've got Burak Yilmaz. You've got two other players from the Lille team who played so well this season, beating PSG and coming on top. Not a small task. And if you watch how Turkey's played throughout, they've had a very good qualifying campaign. And I think they've scored more set piece goals than the other teams in this group. So for me, Turkey is a very strong side. Next, I'll go to Italy. Italy are, one of the best teams defensively. They keep getting out new defenders who are extremely good. Roberto Mancini at the helm. He's done it with City before. He's a good coach. They've had a simple qualifying campaign. I'd like to say the other teams weren't at their level, and they've qualified pretty easily. They have a good mix of experience and youth. You have players like Chiesa, Barella, who have done really well for their clubs this season. And I feel like Mancini has a really strong side to put up for this tournament. And I feel like we don't expect Italy to go out there and win the tournament. But in my opinion, with this side that he holds, with the amount of experience and the talent in the youth, he does have a chance. Then we go to Wales. For me, Wales, we saw them in under 16. Dark horses, man. What they played so well. Even Wales have got a very good team. You look at Gareth Bale, I think he's the best player in this group. A very strong attacking team. Gareth Bale, Harry Wilson, you got Dan James, you got Keith Harouch, who's done really, really well. And overall, I feel like Wales have also improved how they play defensively. Their midfield is good. Aaron Ramsey, Joe Allen. I feel like Wales is another team that can show a good fight to most of these other sides who, might take them lightly.
Yeah.
Switzerland for me is the weakest team over here. Vladimir Petkovic has set this team up well. They're resilient, they play well, very tight football. They don't score way too many goals. But if you look, they've still got Breel Embolo up front, who's extremely fast. He's still only 24, he's versatile, good skill, good speed, very good shot on him. You have Granit Xhaka in midfield, we've seen him for Arsenal. He's not played too well, but you know that he can break up so many attacks. He's someone who's going to be very good at recycling the ball for these forwards. You have Shaqiri. Shaqiri, man. Watched him in 2016. He scored the bicycle, bro. He's amazing. For me, Switzerland isn't the strongest team here. I feel like they'll end last in this group.
That's a good shout. So you're going with what are your rankings for this week?
Italy first, Turkey second, Wales third, and Switzerland.
That's a good shout. But Ishan, take us through Group B. There's Belgium, the best team according to FIFA, best national team. What do you say?
Right, so Group B has Belgium, they have Russia, they have Denmark and Finland. Starting off with Russia, the host of 2018 World Cup. I think the World Cup really brought out some good talent out of the Russian squad. They've got Denis Shebyshev and they've got Alexander Golovin, who's had a fantastic season in Monaco with 5 goals and 9 assists. So there's a lot of creativity and a lot of spark that came up in the 2018 World Cup, and I think they'd like to push it through. A team which defeated Spain that year, they'd like to take the next step, maybe reach the quarters or the semis. That's a good team right there. I think next we'll go into Finland. Now, Finland have Norwich's Teemu Pukki and Queen Park Rangers Glenn Kamara in their side. And they have a good overall team. They have good understanding of one another. They have Marku Kavera as a manager who's been there for 7 odd years. And I think he understands the team better than anyone else. Coming to Denmark. Now, Denmark had a fantastic qualifier round with 14 goals and conceding none throughout the qualifiers. And a lot of the credit can be given to Kasper Schmeichel on goal. And the Chelsea defender who doesn't get the credit he deserves, Christensen, and also obviously Milan's Kajer. So I think Denmark, yeah, and they're also 10th ranked in the FIFA standing, so that's a big thing. And with the creativity of Ericsson and finishing of Poulsen, I think they can really do a good job. And last but not the least, obviously Belgium. I mean, they're the best in the world according to FIFA. They are fantastic. They have got creativity in midfield with the likes of De Bruyne, the likes of Hazard, Tielemans, who steps up really well at difficult times, and they have got critical strikers like Lukaku, who according to him are the top players of the season.
Yeah,
Dia Mertens, who had 9 goals and 8 assists for Napoli. So yeah, I think that is a very interesting group there. I'll say Belgium first, Denmark second, Russia third, and Finland fourth.
that's pretty accurate. That's that's really great. But in Group C, I want to come to Gyan and I want to talk about North Macedonia and Austria. Macedonia just beat Germany and it was a shocker to everyone. Take us through Gyan. What do you say?
So, Northern Macedonia is, I would consider them as a dark horse. They'd be looking to make a mark on this tournament with Pandev, an incredibly clinical striker, leading the line. Now, coming to Austria. Austria's team is looking very strong with main names like Alaba, Arnautovic, Sabitzer, and Lehner, a pretty balanced side. Franco Fodas' men will be looking to start strong with Alaba captaining the side for this tournament. They'll be looking to capitalize on this tournament as they have a pretty good side and a strong side.
That's a good one. But Aaron, I wanted to bring the attention to Ukraine and Netherlands from Group C. What do you think?
I feel like definitely Netherlands will come out as the favorites out of this group. Definitely they need to top this group if they see any chances of winning the Euros. Major blow to them not having Van Dijk this season and obviously Silesen out due to COVID. I think they'll start with a back four at least during the group stages because they don't really have much threat in this group with Matthias De Ligt and Stefan De Vrij definitely being the key to hold that defense together. I feel they'll miss Donny van de Beek in midfield, and since they're going with a 25-man squad, I feel like the only team is going with a 25-man squad to the Euros. They definitely will miss Donny van de Beek's attacking capabilities, made mostly since Wijnaldum and Frankie De Jong mostly have defensive capabilities more than they are attacking. Up top, they have Memphis Depay, who's had an amazing season with Lyon, having a potential move to Barcelona. It's already a great achievement in itself. Moving on to Ukraine, I think the AC Milan great legend Shevchenko is heading into his first tournament as head coach after I think 5 years in charge. The aim this season definitely will be to reach the Euros or the knockout stages of the Euros. Not made it in the last 2012 and 2016. They didn't make it past the group stage. Shevchenko was the assistant coach for France in their triumph last time.
Yeah.
The core of this team definitely has to be Zinchenko after his amazing season with Man City. Also, they have the likes of Yarmolenko, who's had an amazing season for West Ham, making it to the Europa. So, yeah, I think these two teams in Group C will definitely be the ones to watch out for and definitely on the top two.
But I think both of you all do agree that it's going to be Netherlands and Ukraine finishing top two, and Austria coming third, and Macedonia coming last. But now I want to go to Group E. That's Spain, Slovakia, Poland, and Sweden. Mark, can you just take us through Poland and Sweden? I mean, they are two pretty equal teams. I think one has a fantastic striker, one is missing a fantastic striker. Can you just take us through?
I've been excited to talk about these two teams and especially how Sweden will miss Zlatan. I know he's 39. He's defying the age. Somehow, I don't know how he works out, but unbelievable. I feel like they're going to miss his presence not just in the starting lineup but also in the dressing room because he's a leader. He's been around for so long. He's done it in all the best leagues in the world. But even though Sweden still have a good team, their manager has been around for a bit. They still have a team that can compete at the highest level. They have players like Christoph Olsen, they have Emil Forsberg. You have a strong defense with Lindelof and Pontus Jansson who've been doing it for a while, and they need some things to click for them up front. Hopefully, Isak gets a few goals. He's had a good season with Spain, in Spain rather, and that's Sweden. Now I go to Poland. Poland, on the other hand, have that experienced striker that they wanted. They have Robert Lewandowski. Amazing season, broke the record, won the league. I mean, it's like he wins the league every season. It's like nothing new for him. Paulo Sousa as a coach, I mean, his tactics have worked with Poland before. You look at Jakob Mauder, who's still 22-year-old. He's from Brighton. He's had a decent season, but it's these young stars that are going to be making it for, I mean, Sweden and Poland for me. So I hope Sweden and Poland end up winning and like coming above Spain because I like to see the underdogs win.
That's a good shout. But in the same group, there's a big team. There's a big name. That's Spain. So Ishan, Spain and Slovakia. What do you think about those two teams?
Right. So Spain, first of all, I think a big shock with Spain is no Sergio Ramos.
Yeah.
He's been their leader. He's been their rock. He's just got that attitude of winning, that attitude of protecting his players, that lion soul. And I think Spain would really miss that. I don't know if Luis Enrique's decision of not including him in particular has been appropriate among other Real Madrid players. Apart from that, yes, they've got David De Gea on goal. Yes, he has the experience. He's had great phenomenal seasons. Yes, he's had a little drop in form maybe of late, but I think they can really do a good job. The defense, I think, is pretty good, even though Ramos would have made it much better. They've got Laporte, they've got a young Eric Garcia, they've got good fullbacks. They've got Atsi Kutela, who's just won the Champions League, and they've got Jordi Alba, who's one of the most consistent fullbacks in the world. And in midfield, obviously, Koke, Busquets, who's like the central man, I think, with Ramos being absent, and Thiago, who has shown a lot of class in Bayern, and I would like to continue seeing that more in Spain now. And lastly, the offense. Now, the offense may fall a little short since Pedri is young and Morata is known to bulk under pressure. So I'm not sure how the offense will turn out, but other than that, I think Spain will go in looking like the favorites to win this group. And lastly, we have Slovakia. Now, the coach Pavel Hapal has been really phenomenal to build Slovakia. They're playing a very modern style of football. They've got a really balanced out team with a couple of stars. In fact, they've got Skriniar from Inter Milan, who's had a fantastic season, and they've got Hamsik, who again has got 6 goals and 4 assists. So yeah, I think it's a team to watch.
Marek Hamsik especially, yeah. I'm a big fan of his. I just love him. I'm excited to see him. Spain finished first, Sweden second, Poland third, and Slovakia exit. But I want to come to probably one of the most exciting groups squad-wise because people were so excited to see the squad of England, which is Group D. And Aaron, can you just take us through? I mean, England, there's been a lot whom to take, whom to not. Gareth Southgate's confusion, and this Croatia as well, 2018, the run. So can you just take us through?
Yeah, I feel like this group is one which is not talked about much. A lot of good teams which can really upset each other. Coming to Croatia, they'll definitely miss Daniel Subasic in goal after his World Cup heroics. He had an amazing World Cup. Coming to the defense, they have Vida, who's going to hold that defense together. He's had an amazing season and definitely has to hold that Croatia defense together. Versalio on one of the sides. Coming to their midfield, the Croatian legend for me, Luka Modric, definitely is going to play a major role for them in the Euros this year. On the other hand, they have Mateo Kovacic, who I don't think has really been a starter. He's had decent starts for Chelsea, but not really has put his mark in the Croatian first 11. Coming to the attack, they have Kramaric, Perisic, Rebic in the attack who have to net in the goals this time. They also have Bruno Petkovic on top, who's had 6 goals in 14 games. He's going to be crucial for them and definitely a phenomenal player to watch. For me, honestly, Croatia after the World Cup have done some rebuilding. They've looked hapless in the Nations League against Portugal and France, but I feel like definitely they're going to make at least the second spot in this group. Going to Scotland, they have a really good defensive team with Tierney, Robertson in there. They also have McTominay, who can play honestly any position. If you give him, he can play a cam, he can play a CDM, he can play a CB, he can play anywhere. They also have really good attacking qualities with Megan and Shea Adams up top. Shea Adams has scored 2 goals in his last 4 appearances. Scotland are definitely a team to watch out for and definitely can upset England or Croatia. They also have a young Billy Gilmore in there who's definitely proved his worth in Chelsea. May not start every game, but definitely a player to watch out for. Moving on to, I think, the team who won't really make the cut this time in the group is Czech Republic. They have a really good squad with Kufal having an amazing season, also Suchek having an amazing season, both for West Ham. But I don't really think they'll make the cut with the quality they have and the competition they have in the group. I don't really think they'll make the round of 16. Moving on to, I feel like the most talked about team, the most squad depth, at least in the group, is England. Sad to see Nick Pope miss out on the squad due to injury, but I think Jordan Pickford's going to definitely be key for them.
Yeah.
They're going to start, I think, with a five at the back, maybe start with a four at the back for the group stage since they don't have much competition, but five at the back when they have really good teams who will really push them, really press them in every single game. They'll have five at the back with Kyle Walker. Hopefully Harry Maguire's fit by then, and John Stones. Really, they have really good players to watch out for in the names of Mason Mount, Declan Rice, Jack Grealish. They have a lot of quality in them.
Not
Jadon
talent.
Sancho, Phil Foden, lot of talent. So they have really, I feel they really are favorites coming into this group and really need to top the group.
So you're going with England on top, second Croatia, third Scotland, and Czech Republic last. But I think the most drama has caused by the group F, and I think three countries who were considered as teams who could win this tournament were just put in the same group. So, Jan, what do you think? What do you think is going to happen?
So the group F is also known as the group of death because it contains three teams who could actually lift the title. Portugal, France, and Germany are three of the strongest sides, international sides, who have players, world-class players all across the top five leagues. I personally feel France, coming off from their 2018 World Cup victory, would are most likely to top this group. Portugal coming second, and Germany finishing off third. With Hungary also the dark horses, I would feel are the dark horses. I don't think they'll make that much of an impact just because of the difference in quality among the four sides. So Portugal still has many veterans like Pepe, CR7, and young stars like João Felix and Bruno Fernandes. Quite a successful team. They lifted to 2016 European Championships already. They already have previous successes in the inaugural Nations League as they won over Netherlands. They'll be looking to add to that tally with Ronaldo and Fernando Santos being very hungry. They have an incredibly young squad with many up-and-coming players like João Cancelo, Ruben Diaz, one incredible rock at the back, and Rui Patricio, who's an incredible keeper. I'm pretty sure Portugal will not go down fighting. They are one of the best sides and have a shot at winning this European Championships 2020. Now we come to France. France are definitely favourites to win as they won the 2018 World Cup. They have produced one of the most talented players in the last decade. They've just won the 2018 World Cup with incredible players like Griezmann, Mbappe, Giroud, Benzema, Tolisso, Pogba, Kanté. They have an incredibly balanced squad with many options in midfield, attack, and defense. Mbappe is also, I think, would be a standout not only in this group but in this tournament. Now coming to Germany, Germany have announced that it's Joachim Löw's final tournament with Germany, and I think that will be motivation itself to win the European Championships as he'll be looking to leave Germany with some silverware.
Yeah.
The recording of Thomas Muller is really something very intelligent by Joachim Löw. Germany always loved to attack with Timo Werner, Kai Havertz, Serge Gnabry, Leroy Sané, Ilkay Gundogan, and Toni Kroos in midfield, being the midfield general. I really feel Germany have an incredible amount of squad depth, but unfortunately, the quality of Portugal and France, according to me, Germany would just end up being third. Now coming to Hungary, Hungary are very unfortunate to be part of this group with three incredible sides who have a shot at winning this. Hungary are the dark horses of this tournament, and I feel players like Peter Gulacsi, Salai, and Salazar, who are brilliant attacking players, they have the potential to cause upsets among these three teams and have a shot at disrupting France, Portugal, or Germany's shot at the title.
That's a good shout. So you, I think, reckon on France topping the group with Portugal second and Germany going third for the further qualification next stage. That's a lot. That's a lot of drama, lots of details coming out of this analysis. But as you all mentioned, I have listed down the third place teams. They are Wales, Russia, Austria, Scotland, Poland, and Germany. So, Mark, among these teams, name two teams which you think would qualify.
For me, it would be Wales and Scotland.
So, Ishan, Mark is going with Wales and Scotland. So, I want you to name one more team which you think will qualify from this stage.
I think Al said the obvious. The group of death, Germany.
I'm going to go with Poland merely because of Robert Lewandowski. I feel like he'll have that final push to push them over the line and getting them to that knockout stage. So Poland for me.
So that's a good insight coming out of this discussion. So moving on, there's a lot of drama as we could see. The panelists have predicted who, according to them, are going to qualify, who are not. But Euros is not just that. There's a lot of drama happening. And just before Euros, you've seen Hazard, who's been injured for a lot of time, coming out with a statement that he's going to be the best player for Belgium. What do you think, Mark? Is he or is he not?
See, honestly, on his day, he can be just off the level of Ronaldo and Messi. We've seen him at Chelsea. We've seen him single-handedly change the biggest games. We've seen him win them trophies, being the best player over there for years now.
Yeah.
And I think he can be the best player, but I hope his injuries don't, bite him in the back. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, but it was a very confident move for Hazard. It's going to be exciting to see what happens. But Aaron, can you tell me? There was a lot of rumor happening that Bale was going to retire after the Euros. He's not that old, for a footballer. What do you think? Do you think it'll happen?
I think Bale and Hazard, their career span for Madrid has been quite similar. They've come in and not really had the performance they had when they were in the Premier League. But Bale for me is an amazing player. I mean, he's shown his quality with the few matches he's played for Tottenham this season. Personally, for me, I think he should continue at Tottenham. That's something not for me to say. For Wales, he's been amazing, spectacular. I think he's their main man, their talisman. And him retiring after the Euros at this young age, I don't think that's the way he should retire. Maybe after a World Cup, another World Cup. Maybe then, but definitely not right now.
That's a good opinion. But there was another big upset, I think, which I was looking at when I was talking about. I was looking at Italy's squad, and most people think that they're not going to win, not going to do anything. It's France, Portugal, England, or anything. Gyan, can you tell me, like, they've been on a 20+ undefeated streak right now? You think actually they have a shot, or is this propaganda right?
So I think Italy are one of the best teams defensively with Bonucci and Chiellini, two of the best centre backs in this decade. I think they are really good defensively. Attacking wise, they also have a lot of young prospects who have performed really well this season. With Ciro Immobile, one of the best strikers in the current game right now, and Chiesa, who's come off from a very incredible season. I think they do have a shot. They've not won a trophy since a very long time.
Yeah.
And I think because of that, people have underestimated them. But I think they'll prove everyone wrong this season. And I'm not sure about them winning it, but I'm pretty sure they would make it to the knockout rounds with ease.
That's a good shout. I want to come to Ishan. I mean, there's a lot of hype around Shevchenko, because Shevchenko, when he has his man on the pitch, he doesn't care who the big names are. He just goes wild. So, do you actually consider them as a big underdog in this tournament?
So yeah, I think Shevchenko is a really immense talent, and I think Ukraine with him by their side, they can really cause upsets. They've got the potential, and they've got really young players, including Zinchenko to back Shevchenko up. And I mean, looking at the group, they just have to. I mean, I don't think North Macedonia is going to cause them trouble. So if they can just do well against Austria and Netherlands, I think they have a really good shot at qualifying and maybe even going a little further than just the round of 16.
That's a good shout. Mark, do you agree or do you think there's a better dark horse?
For me, Wales would be a better dark horse. But what Ishan said about Ukraine and about their group, I feel like Ukraine has a very good chance to. They have a little bit of an easier group. Yeah, I mean, like look at Austria. I think they can beat Austria, and Netherlands is going to be missing Van Dijk. So you never. I mean, first of all, it's football. You're never going to know. But as he said, Ukraine, they have a good bunch of young talent. They have experience. I'd love to see them surprise the big guns. I would love for them to be the dark horses in this tournament. I don't mind being proven wrong if a small team wins.
Good shout. But Aaron, I want to come to you about a very hot topic today because there was no Aaron Wan-Bissaka in the England squad. So, I mean, as a Man United fan, I know it must have hurt you in your heart. But what do you think? Is this going to cost Gareth Southgate?
I mean, honestly, I think Aaron Wan-Bissaka is the best defensive right back they have compared to all the four others. Honestly, I don't think they really need someone like a Wan-Bissaka for the group stages, but when they go to the knockout stages, they're going to be they'll be matched up with teams which are really going to push them, and they'll at that time they really need somebody like a Wan-Bissaka to hold them, to hold the defense, to be defensively strong, because in these games somebody like Kyle Walker or I mean they're still great players, but I think Wan-Bissaka is just too phenomenal defensively.
I mean, these knockout stages are pretty marginal, so you've got to defend the lead if you have it. But there was another very sad part that Lewandowski, after having a fantastic season with Bayern Munich, the support he has over there, people, but the Polish support is negligible compared to the Bayern support. So, Ishan, do you think he can make the change for Poland?
So, I mean, to be honest, if there is one team which is carried by a player single-handedly, I think it's Poland with Lewandowski. The potential he has, I mean, he doesn't even he need half a chance. He needs like a fourth of a chance, and he finishes. I mean, he's fantastic that way. And yeah, he will not receive the crosses or the passes like he receives from his teammates at Bayern. You know, they've got fantastic players, Kimmich, Pavard, anyone for that matter, Muller. They put like fantastic passes, and he has a lot more precision and a lot more chances. But I think Lewandowski, being as clinical as he is, he doesn't need that position. I think he can still carry this Polish team to a good level, maybe the round of 16, maybe the quarters. So yeah.
That's a good shout, but I want to come to Mark. I want to actually talk about this point, which is not that highlighted, but when you see the group F and when you talk about Portugal's defense, there's a lot of experience Pepe playing, but on the contrary, when you see France's attack, it's Dembele, Mbappe, Griezmann, Coman, Benzema. There's such huge pace. There's so much pace. What do you think? Will Portugal actually uh, be able to hold it?
According to me, when you look at Portugal's team, it's not just Ruben Diaz and Pepe. You also have Joao Cancelo, who's been really good, and you know he can play. Like he's very versatile. He can come back into the midfield and stuff like that. But then again, you look at France and you look at France's attack. I mean, it's hard to make a prediction because both are really strong forces. But I don't know. I feel like France will be able to dismantle this Portuguese team. I feel like they'll easily take them 2-0, 3-0.
That's a bold shout. But Gyan, I know I missed you, but I want to get you through this. But the question is, the one thing that actually shocked people is Karim Benzema returning to the France squad after what happened with him and Ribéry and everything that. Moving on from that, but do you think Deschamps should have called him before or so, or the French team should have called him before as well in the team, or this is the right time?
I'm sure the French team had their reasons for not including Benzema before because of the scandal he caused with Valbuena. But he's too good of a player to not be part of this France squad. He's one of the best strikers and one of the most underrated strikers. To be doing what he does with Real Madrid for around 10 years now, a decade almost, scoring goals, 20 plus, 30 plus goals every season. He's incredibly underrated and carried this Real Madrid side this season. He definitely should have been called up earlier, but I'm glad it's happening now for the European Championships. And he took a knock during their friendly I hope it's not too serious, and hopefully he can feature on the European Championships this season because he's essential for France.
Who do you think should start, the go-kart or F1?
I definitely feel Benzema definitely has a quality over Giroud. Although Giroud is France's second top leading scorer, so
Yeah.
that should also be taken into consideration. Didier Deschamps definitely has a choice to choose now.
It's a big choice to choose. This is the drama which we think would happen. This that had just happened before Euros happened, and while the tournament starts, it's going to be absolutely uh, a madness, a hell of a ride to watch. But with that, I want to conclude this session, this debate, this podcast over here. Thanks to my panelists, thanks to the panelists, and I thank you all for watching. I hope to see you all very soon. Thank you so much.